The RTIArms P-3. Those 3 P's stand for Perfect Pest Pulverizer. Nah, that's just me desperately trying to be funny. In fact, the P-3 is the latest addition to the Prophet's lineup by RTIArms. The gun has a number of upgrades compared to its predecessor. Apparently, the guys at RTIArms have been working tirelessly to improve the rifle that has already become an icon in the world of pneumatics. So before we get to the performance in the field part, where I'm gonna smack a load of sky rats, let me show you what's been upgraded on this gun and what makes it such a great PCP. I'm sure that you awesome people watching my channel will be able to work out some of the differences on your own straight away just by looking at the rifles. Also, this is the place to say that both these guns are the top-tier performance version of the RTIArms product range. If you want details on what the performance package includes, you can visit the RTIArms shop. That's where I got my guns. The first thing that you'd notice is the P-3 has a cheek piece, and one that's adjustable at that. It can be adjusted via those 2 screws here, and even though it may not strike you as such initially, the cheek piece is fully ambidextrous. On the opposite side of the receiver there is a threaded hole the boys at RTI drilled especially for the lefties. And the second screw of the cheek piece goes into place of one of those which hold the side plate. As you can see, the Prophet 2 had no such accessory included. Then it's the butt plate. On the new P-3 it's made of rubber, which makes the gun much more comfortable to shoulder. It has a nice checker ring and it won't slide on your clothes when you press the rifle against your shoulder. I'm afraid this was not the case with the Prophet 2 and its aluminum butt plate, although it is pretty thick and quite sturdy. Another downside is it always gets scratched on rough surfaces, which cannot happen to the rubberized plate of the P-3 that is also height adjustable, by the way. If you remove the rubber, you expose 4 screws via which you can adjust the plate in accordance with your personal preferences and body structure. While examining the rear part of the rifle, you'll most certainly notice that the hammer spring adjuster is way more sophisticated on the P-3. There is an adjustment dial now with clear tactile clicks which give you reference points and ensure that the adjuster won't move with the vibrations of the shots. The same device on the Prophet 2 did its job well enough, although it was a bit more rudimental. As a whole, the shapes on the P-3 are smoother and the design of the receiver is a bit different, I'd say even more aesthetic and appealing to the eye. The dovetail rails on both sides are now gone, and some shooters may miss those as they provided an opportunity for mounting various accessories on the gun. The Picatinny rail has undergone a huge improvement, which is particularly important for long-range shooters. It is no longer fixed as on the Prophet 2. Also, some shooters found it too low. On the P-3 it is adjustable and goes all the way from 20 to 150 MOA. To adjust it, you need to loosen those 2 screws and then tilt it. And before you're done, you can use this little shiny one right here to fine-tune the elevation of your rail. Of course, don't forget to tighten the screws on this side again after you're through with the adjustments. The bolts which hold the barrel in place have quite obviously multiplied. There used to be just 1 on the Prophet 2, whereas we have 3 now on the P-3, which is just a coincidence and has nothing to do with the rifle name, of course. They tell me those keep the barrel in place better than before and more securely in the correct position over the transfer port. The connecting tube here is thicker on the P-3 and looks a bit different, perhaps due to the different alloy or metal work. And the regulator is also redesigned and upgraded as a part of the brand's effort to constantly move forward. Now let's move on to some range time. I decided to start small with the P-3 test, so my first projectiles of choice were the lightweight Hades pellets, which should be great for the close to medium distances at my superstore permission. I was down to my last paper target when I remembered my own logo is sort of a target itself, so I fired another 5 shots at it. On the following morning I was at my superstore permission ready for action, and so was my P-3, which came with this nice branded hard case, by the way. And before I start with the part which some people strongly disapprove, let me briefly remind you of the mess the sky rats make and why we call them. This entire footage was taken at the very same place where I'm about to shoot and dispatch those pesky pest birds today. As you may have seen in some of my previous videos, that place is the rooftop of a superstore. It's packed with chillers and air conditioning units, and the sky rats make a huge mess by pooping on all of that machinery and even getting stuck in it. My gun is zeroed at 55 yards, as you could see in the shooting range footage, so I'm using hold under on some of my shots when the target is closer or when I'm shooting at an upward angle. For those of you who are not into shooting and its terminology, this means that on some shots I'm aiming a bit lower to compensate for those two factors, and thus the point of impact is not in the very center of my crosshairs. Note how they started becoming a bit more wary as they were looking down at their dead bodies. I could barely see my target on the next one, and I had to squeeze a shot between a couple of those huge vents. While waiting for the next Skyrat to make the mistake of landing on that roof, I noticed something with my peripheral vision. There was something weird going on with the Skyrat which landed too close to me, and sorry for the slow motion footage. Whilst being in a hurry to record this, I accidentally switched my camera to time-lapse mode. I think the bird's leg was injured. Also, I couldn't take a shot without damaging the machinery. And when I went too close, it managed to fly off, only to land on another spot, giving me a perfect opportunity to take it down with a headshot. And once this started, I couldn't help but target their main processing units only from this point onwards. The opening time of this place was approaching, so we had to call it a day and start collecting the carcasses of the pest buds. You'll have to forgive me for the black and white footage. I wouldn't want the video to be too graphic, and I leave to you to figure out what those tiny bits and pieces are. My mate helped me in the process, and if I have to be honest, this time he did all the dirty work while I kept filming. The scope cam footage was brought to you by the Vector Optics Veyron 4-16x44 first focal plane and the Orion Cam scope camera mount courtesy of Orion the Iguana Hunter. I would also like to take the time to say a big thank you to my friend Peter, the Black Paw gunner, who was kind enough to get me one of those extremely sturdy and reliable Atlas bipods at the much more affordable US price and ship it to me here in Europe. Thanks for watching, boys and girls, and stay tuned as more of the P-3 is coming soon, and this time Slugs is going to be the name of the game. See you in the next one.